Hey Zombie 222 fans, Bloodshed Motor fans. I thought I would give you a little update on the Texas Mile. A lot of you guys have been asking me, hey man, what happened? You've gone quiet. Well, let me tell you something. With a guy like me, when I'm not sharing good news, that means I've only got bad news, because I'm a good news kind of guy. Well, you got to suck it up. Life doesn't always, hand you roses. So I'm going to give you the update on the Texas Mile and tell you everything that happened. Starting with the team, worked their butts off, okay? They did a terrific job eliminating all points of resistance to make sure we get maximum current to the motors. And they did it, okay? So the car's ready. We got the skinny tires on it, mirrors gone, race tape. Alan had fabricated a splitter that also blocks off all the wind turbulence under the engine bay area. Everything's good. We get down there, we've rented an RV, we have a great hangout place. We just know we're gonna set world records and celebrate and enjoy all the race cars and everything. We get down there and we start talking about the strategy for the first run. I'm thinking about, maybe just take a little warm-up run, fill out the track. It's an old airstrip, they do not maintain it. It gets a little rougher every year, and the guys are like, come on, man. You know this thing, you've done it 2 or 3, 4 times. Get down there, throw the hammer down, and break a damn world record. Get on it. So, okay, gotta do it. I'm all in. We're on the car. We're on the line. Ready to go. Boom! Hammer down. Take off. Oh, it's feeling good, man. Throw the first gear vendor. Boom! Pushes me back. Love these gear vendors, man. Also another sponsor of ours. They do a great job doing us rebuilds and improving the clutches and everything. So we take off. I'm throwing it down. It's feeling, but I'm not feeling quite the same pushback you usually get. But I'm in a helmet and a race suit, so maybe it's just me, right? Second gear vendor. Boom! Now I'm at 100 and something. Boom! Third gear vendor. I look at the speedometer. Now I'm in the 160s and I'm approaching 170. And I can't really watch the speedometer too much because the track is not that good, and it'll throw you around like this a little bit, and it'll bounce you, and let's face it, 1968 Mustang, not the most aerodynamic car in the world, has a rating of 0.5, and I have a 4-point roll bar in here, not a full cage, so I'd kind of like to keep going straight, you know what I mean? So anyway, going down, time for the fourth gear vendor. That's going to be the magic. That's going to push us to 200 miles an hour. I throw it, and I just don't feel that pushback that I'm used to. I keep the pedal down, mile marker goes by. Then I'm on the brakes. Let me tell you something I learned. You add 1,000 pounds to your car, it changes the braking dynamics. Oh, news there, right? So I'm having to brake and brake hard. I'm pushing those brakes, and it's also bouncing, and with all that weight in the butt of the car, the last thing I want is to bounce it and come around. But I'm I'm pumping and I'm dragging on those brakes. I finally get stopped right at the end and turn and go down to the ticket window where they give you your ticket. And there is smoke bowling off the front brakes. And I smell that, but I smell something else. I smell like a rubber smell. There's something else going on, right? So I get the car back, and I tell the guys, there's something going on, but the brakes are just reeking, and the guy's like, it's just the brakes, dude. These are race brakes. They'll be fine, don't worry about the discolored rotors. I don't know whether or not to believe them. Maybe they don't want me to make it, but I decide, okay, let's go for another run. So we top the car off, charge it off, get up on the line. There's plenty of waiting time, so the brakes are cooled off good. Same thing, take off, bam, everything's working great, right? Get to the end, 176 miles an hour. My first run was a new personal record, right? We ran 178.1 miles an hour, which is about a mile an hour or a little less than an old one. So it's a new record, but car's actually slowing down. And usually when you do one run, the batteries get nice and warmed up. The chemicals get churned up and they do better. So something's not right. And we're looking it over now. The Voltavox guys who sponsor us and have for the battery pack, they actually sent a couple of guys to be there with us as part of the team just to make sure that if anything happened, they could help us. So they're looking everything over and we're looking it over. And one of the Voltavox guys noticed a chunk of molten metal on the air splitter. I'm like, oh, that's not good. So we start looking, and I remove the air shield that we use that forces air through the motors to cool them. And sure enough, the rubber insulating layer, part of it had burned away. And here's what happened. The bottom brush rigging, there's 4 brush riggings, and the front motor had failed. And that had started a plasma fire inside the front motor, and that affected the second brush rigging and burned some of its wires. And the brushes had actually come loose on the first one, but 2 of the riggings were still intact. So that unbelievable Warp 11 motor from NetGain, that thing is just indestructible. It was still pushing. So I was getting half of a motor. So we ran 178 miles an hour on 1.5 motors. I'm feeling pretty good now. I know we get these motors fixed, we figure out the point of failure, we strengthen and harden it, we got 200, right? So we get there, we're looking at this, and we have spare motors back at the shop, okay? So now there was a big discussion. Alan was more than ready to jump in the truck, go get the motors, bring them down with a cherry picker, and do a field change, field swap on the motors. That's one of the nice things about an electric car. It isn't actually that hard to do those kinds of things. But, you know, after a lot of discussion, I finally just told the guys, I said, listen, man, you know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Something failed. We don't know what it is. Why wouldn't I expect the same thing to happen on the second set of motors? Because by eliminating all those points of resistance, we've now pushed the failure point to the very last thing, which in fact is the motors. Now, I've got to say this about these motors. These are Warp 11s from NetGain, and they are outstanding motors. They are the most indestructible thing I've ever seen in my life. Now, the second set of motors that we have actually been tweaked by NetGain for us, some changes to help with racing, because arcing is your devil. That's the negative thing. That's what tears you up. And they've done some changes. And so clearly something had gone wrong in these other set of motors that I was running, and we need to figure it out. So we got it back to the shop, and we began to do our diagnosis on it. And let me tell you what we found. So I'm going to take the camera over here and show you the motors and talk about what we found. I apologize for the shakiness and the bounciness, but it is what it is. All right, so we get over here, and let me turn a flashlight on so we can see. So first let me show you these. This is what a good set of brushes look like. So this is the motor that failed. It's still in the car. I can still actually move the car around and drive it, etc. That's what good brushes look like. Now let's come over here to the other set, and you'll see these were the ones that didn't initially fail but were affected by the failure of the ones underneath. I'd have to put the car on a lift to show you those. But what you can see here is even these, the wiring was beginning to burn off and come in half, and that's what we found was the failure, okay? So the wires on the brush itself had shorted out, and that caused an arcing and a plasma storm, and that's what had damaged everything. Now, we contacted the brush manufacturer, and they have built some brushes for Big Daddy Don Garlits, and lo and behold, they have a 4 times thicker lead wires, better insulation, heavier spring loads, and so we're in the process of trying to get them to manufacture a set of those brushes for us that we can put in the other motors and head back to the Texas Mile again, where we are going to throw the hammer down, and we're going to take this gorgeous full-body 1968 Mustang, full glass interior, we're going to push this bad boy to 200 miles an hour. It's going to happen. It is like the thing I am chasing. We will get it done. Thank you guys for your support. Stay tuned.